Hey everyone, welcome to the 244th episode of the Internet of Things podcast. This is your host, Stacey Higginbotham, and your co-host,
Kevin Toffel.
And if you are in the US of A, I just want to say to you, Happy Thanksgiving!
Gobble, gobble.
And that's Kevin's version of that, I suppose. So we've got a wonderful show for you today. We're going to be talking about a lot of the new IoT updates for AWS that affect both Madam A and also their industrial cloud offerings. We're also going to talk about Wink, lightweight encryption for IoT devices. There's a little debate going on that feels a little academic right now. Wise got an update that's going to surprise a lot of people. We've got some trackers coming out that use NB-IoT coverage to talk about. Google's got a little bit of news. Amazon has a little bit more news. And there are a couple Black Friday deals we'll mention for you. Plus, Kevin is going to talk about his experience with the RoomMe device from IntelliThings, and I'm going to talk to you about the Philips Hue Smart Switch. We'll also hear from Legrand, our sponsor, and we'll hear from our guest this week, Sarah Cooper, who is the GM of Outcome-Driven Engineering at AWS. She's going to talk about the Amazon news, but she's really going to talk about architectures for IoT. It's going to be an awesome show. If you are listening while you're cooking, good for you. Or maybe you're going to be listening after your turkey dinner while you're napping on the couch. Either way, stay tuned. But first, a message from our sponsor. This week's sponsor is Schlage. Schlage believes innovation should be driven by purpose. With a variety of smart locks that connect to your home with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Z-Wave, and Zigbee, Schlage has a wide selection of smart locks that connect seamlessly with any smart home. Learn how Schlage can help you meet your home automation needs at schlage.com/IoT. Yay! Okay, Kevin. First off, let's talk turkey. Are you excited about Thanksgiving?
It's actually not a big to-do for our house. We tend to stay at home, although this year we are going to visit my sister and have dinner with her family.
What's your favorite Turkey Day dish?
Pumpkin pie, which I eat all year round, actually.
Oh, yeah, you do. You eat it for breakfast. Okay.
Quarter of a pie, yeah.
Dear Lord.
I know.
All right. Well, I am excited. I love stuffing and cranberries and gravy. It has to be that combo.
Okay.
It's like my favorite. I don't know. And giblets too, but no one else. Everyone else thinks
don't
that's
forget
gross.
the giblets.
Can't forget the giblet gravy. Okay. So that is neither here nor there, and everyone who is not in the U.S. is probably like, blah, blah, food. Okay. And surprisingly, there's no cooking content on this week's show. But AWS, let's talk about their news, because they did a bunch of things. Let's talk about the Madam A stuff first. I found this very surprising. So Amazon has shrunk Madam A voice services for AWS IoT Core. So what they have done is, if you want to build Madam A into a piece of hardware, you actually used to require 100 megabytes of RAM, and you had to have an ARM Cortex-A microprocessor. For everyone who's like, what? That's a lot of memory.
Mm-hmm.
That is really big. And an A-class processor, those are the things that are in your phone. A lot of times they're in your gateway devices. Now they're basically saying you can put it on an MCU, and those are the tiny little chips that run in sensors. Amazon says it'll be able to put it in like small appliances, thermostats, and light switches. It's also going to help lower the cost, because A-class versus MCUs are very different in price.
Big difference. That's correct.
And it's going to go from 100 megs of RAM to only needing 1 megabyte of RAM, which again, you guys, that's actually quite a bit. When I talk to people about running on IoT devices, I'm actually looking for like kilobytes of RAM.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say, all the programming we're doing in class, we're dealing with like 8K of memory, 8,000 bytes.
Yeah. So an 8K is pretty extreme, but I am looking.
Yes.
I'm like, yes.
So I'm just pretty much blinking lights in class. You're right.
But these are big considerations. And Google, when they did their Weave protocol, that actually required 1 meg of RAM. And that was like a lot. Mm-hmm. We're all like, whoa. So I was surprised, basically, reading this at how fat Madam A was.
I'm not terribly surprised. And yet, if it's all happening in the cloud, it shouldn't need that much RAM. So I'm sort of surprised, I guess. I'm kind of in between. Like, I see why they might need it, but then again, I don't. And I'm trying to figure out, what are they doing when Google is going to local on-device natural language processing? Are they doing anything?
Yeah. So one of the big ways they've been able to do this large shrinkage is because most of the functionality they're moving to the cloud. The name for this is AWS, Integration for IoT Core. And what it's going to do is all the media retrieval, audio decoding, mixing, and state management is going to move from a physical device to a virtual Madam A in the cloud.
See, they're kind of going in the opposite direction then in Google.
They are. Because, I don't know if I want device state. Because that means when your power goes out, the ability to retain device state is gone. I asked the Amazon people, I was actually at Amazon on Friday recording the interview with Sarah, and I asked them about this, and they said they'd get back to me. But I asked if they would talk about that, but they decided not to, I'm guessing, because they never called. They're doing a couple other things to lower the memory requirements here. But basically, this is Amazon's betting big on the cloud. Google's like, let's go local. And I find that very interesting from a strategic perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it reduces cost in devices, but it introduces potential latency. It introduces a failure point when there's no cloud access.
Well,
I'm
thinking
surprised.
About privacy. Google's big thing around local is very much privacy focused.
Correct.
So this runs counter to a lot of trends, but we'll just have to see. On the industrial side, they made a lot of other announcements as well. We're going to talk about some of them in the interview with Sarah, but real quick run through. They brought container support for AWS IoT Greengrass. Greengrass is Amazon's cloud service for the edge. It links your edge device to the cloud. Now you've got containers on the AWS Greengrass. That's awesome because containers are little wrapped buckets, containers. They're wrapped containers of software.
Almost like a virtual machine that you just bundle up and you could deploy it, a million times without, rebuilding it each time.
Yes. And that can go on a light switch. It can go in the cloud. It can go everywhere and it can run the same models. It's very efficient for IoT. They also announced Stream Manager for AWS IoT Greengrass. That is a data stream management service. So you're going to be able to do all that at the edge. They also announced fleet provisioning for AWS IoT Core, which is huge because you don't want to individually, when you're dealing with 100,000 devices, you do not want to individually provision them. You want all of it to go on, and you want to manage it. That's a scalability issue. They also announced configurable endpoints for AWS IoT Core, and that's going to help you. That's another scalability effort. So don't worry too much about that. And then they've got secure tunneling for AWS IoT device management.
Yay.
That is really important. It's going to allow you to create a secure remote communications session between two devices. So that lets you do stuff in the field. It lets you connect devices to other devices in the field so you can troubleshoot them or put things.
And it's secure.
Yeah, it's secure. It's going to be nice. Again, this is an enterprise thing, but it's going to be important for that. And that gives them, again, more credibility because right now, the cloud to beat in enterprise IoT is definitely Microsoft Azure.
Yeah.
So, okay. That's the AWS news for now.
You know what? It's another podcast and another time we're mentioning my favorite hub.
Wink.
Yep. And it's never good. It's never good anymore.
But wait, they fixed the Google thing we talked about last week.
They did. They did. As of a couple days ago. I don't remember the exact date, but yes. So I was able to voice control my Wink devices, Wink connected devices in my house. Yes, that was good. But yet today we got some bad news. Oh,
yes. If you try to call Wink for help, like let's say maybe your Google thing goes down again, you're going to get a busy signal. Or maybe you'll get this call cannot be completed as dialed.
Depends on your carrier, because we tried through one carrier and we've also gone to the Wink user forums and I believe that somebody has reached out to you, Stacey, and said, if I call up on this carrier, I get a totally different message. But endpoint is, it doesn't matter which one you use, there's nobody there.
Google's back up, but customer support seems to be down.
Yeah.
So.
Makes you wonder. I should probably get a SmartThings hub and keep it
you have
ready
a
for deployment.
SmartThings hub because you have an NVIDIA Shield.
You're right. I have the USB dongle. It was $10 for me at the time. I think it's like $40 full price, yeah, I can plug it into my NVIDIA Shield. And I just, I can't transfer everything over. I have to set it all up again, but that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about encryption. We talked about secure tunneling. Now let's talk about lightweight encryption. Let's level set with everybody, because some of you guys are going to be like, yeah, encryption, I love cryptography. And some of you guys are going to be like, what is encryption? So encryption is really important because it basically allows any communication between your device or any data that is stored to be kept secret. And encryption is done using different forms of cryptography. It's basically math. They require computers to solve hard math problems to decode something. And you get the solution set along with your encryption key. So that solution set is the key. One of the debates about encryption is there's several different levels, and they're usually measured by something called AES. When you hear people talk about bank-grade security, it is 256-bit AES. So the challenge is people are saying, and this is driven by NIST actually asked companies, do we need a standard for IoT encryption for those microcontrollers and we'll call them dumber devices? And the thought process is those dumber devices don't have enough overhead to spare to be able to do the math required for AES.
Right. Or they could do it. It would just take an inordinately amount of time. It's just way too much.
It'd be like me trying to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, it'd be faster than that, but still. It's like me doing long division versus typing into a calculator. And the answer is maybe. Wired apparently discovered this. I had written about the NIST request for more information about this a while back, but Wired discovered this. And Kevin, you want to kind of summarize what they came up with here?
Well, I mean, there have been some strides made in this area. Google, for example, offers full phone encryption, all the data on your phone, even on their lowest end phones, but they had to put a lot of effort and time into it. We're not at the point where we can do this on a small IoT device with very minimal processing power yet. So I don't think we've got the problem solved yet, quite honestly.
I reached out to a friend of mine. He does embedded security. His company is Wolf SSL. His name is Larry Stefanik. And I reached out to him because I was like, Larry, what do you think about this? And he was like, this is really, and he threw it open to his weekly engineering call because that's how nice he is. And he's like, look, this is mostly an academic debate right now because we're not going to have a set standard anytime soon, because right now we have more than 50 candidates for lightweight ciphers, which is a lot. And he says right now, AES is still better than something new because we understand it. It's well vetted. You can do AES effectively and without taxing resources of a smaller chip right now. So he's kind of like, this is looking further ahead, but right now we don't need to be stressing about it. And he also pointed out, and I like this quote, cryptographers got to do what they do. We don't recall a time when there wasn't some debate in the cryptography community, end quote. So
yeah, we may not have the details on how we're going to solve this problem yet, but I'm actually very optimistic in that we've talked about this many times. IoT devices that really aren't designed with security in mind because they don't use encryption and store passwords in plain text, for example. We got to get over that. We've got to put some standards in place. We need encryption methods to do that, and we need them to be appropriate for the level of computing power in these devices. So I'm actually kind of happy about this.
Yes, having this debate is important. I will also say he sent this to me to level set. You can do AES encryption on a 32-bit microcontroller. In that case, what has happened is the encryption is laid down on the hardware. I mean, 32-bit microcontrollers.
You'd think that's good, but to be honest, I think that's bulky. I mean, we're using Arduinos in class. They're 8-bit, the MCUs on there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're back to that 8-bit.
Like we can do a few 16-bit calculations because we have 3 double registers that we can kind of pair together, but it's not meant for 32 by any means. And it's not even really meant for 16, but we make it work.
Okay. Well, there you go. Here's Kevin coming in. He's like, I don't know.
I'm getting my money's worth out of that class.
You are. Dang. I knew this would be a good class. Maybe I should be paying
shifting
for
bits and all kinds of stuff. Flipping and flopping. Yep.
All right. So that's the debate on low-powered IoT. You should keep an eye on the NIST standards, and we'll keep talking about this. And as things emerge, we'll keep telling you about it because it is, yes, this is an academic debate, but it is an important debate as we put more devices out there. And there are other ways than just encryption on the device to do this, but it is increasingly important. Okay. I received an email today from Wise. And today, just so you know, we're recording this on Tuesday before Thanksgiving. This email caught me way by surprise. It's basically Wise is doing away with their person detection.
What wise giveth, wise taketh away.
Exactly.
We just got this.
It was, and people loved it. But they're doing it. They have to take it away because their provider, Exonor.ai, pulled the contract.
Yeah.
Wise does not say why this happened, but my hunch is something is going down with Exonor, and I imagine it is a rival deal. This is pure speculation. There is nothing in here, but I was credibly told that Exonor was the company that pulled the contract, and you don't usually do something like that, especially when, you've got a company using your stuff that's got, 1 million plus units in the field, unless something big's going down.
I guess.
My hunch is it's a rival camera company or a company that has a rival camera.
Maybe. What we had, we lose, the person detection. We lose it in mid-January, according to the email, and that'll be via a firmware release. But Wise says, hey, we're going to bring this back. We just don't know how yet. Will it be cloud-based? Will it be on-device like it is today? Don't know yet, but we'll bring it back and it will be free. So hopefully they find some other provider for this.
Yeah, so if you're doing embedded ML at the edge, especially with low-power computer vision and image recognition models, you should give Wise a call.
Yeah.
Or just give me a call and I'll put you in touch because people love that. And Wise liked the fact that it was on device because Wise is very focused on, privacy.
Privacy, yep.
So that's that update, which is not a great one. Sorry, y'all. Let's talk about something that I'm looking forward to, but I'm going to be looking forward to it for quite some time because it's not quite ready. Tracking via low-power wide area networks. Woo, woo. Sorry, Kevin, you can talk about it now.
That's okay. You're more excited about this than I am. That's okay. Do you ride a bike? I don't know if you do.
No, but I have a dog, and my dog sometimes goes away. Or she just runs. She didn't really run away. We treat her very well. She always comes back. But
All right. This is not quite a product for the dog, but it could turn into one someday. We're talking about the C-Sense Air. And C-Sense, if you're not familiar with them, they have funded 6 prior projects on Kickstarter, and the Air is now their 7th. It has already surpassed its goal, and you can still back it, so there's time to get in. It is meant for bicycles. It is literally a small module that uses NB IoT. They say it's the first one for bicycles that uses the NB IoT network. It attaches to your bike, and then using that network, it can tell you if your bike has been messed with, if it's been stolen. It can tell you where it is. Kind of like a Find My Bike app comes with it. So interesting that they're using NB IoT. It makes sense.
yeah, and the reason I talked about the dog is because I thought you were going to talk about the Flock, which is another NB IoT sensor, which you could also stick on your bike, but in this case, you could also stick it on your dog. But I do actually have a bike, and I guess I could put this on it. Maybe
You could.
But both of these are crowdfunding. So right now, what's it called? Sensi?
C-Sense.
C-Sense. How much is the C-Sense?
The C-Sense, you can back it now for approximately $154 based on the conversion from British pounds. It looks to me like they're really aiming first for Europe, Australia, Africa, and Asia, because those are like the first network bands that will be supported. And then the planned rollout from late 2020 includes the US.
Okay, so...
But we're not a bike nation here, unfortunately. I mean, yes, we have bike riders here, but Europe, for example, that's the way to go.
Yes. And is there a subscription fee?
Yeah, there is not for the first 2 years.
Okay.
After the first 2 years, it will cost only around 3 pence per day for a year's subscription.
I don't even know what a pence is.
I don't either, but it sounds cheap to me.
It sounds... Yeah, I was like, sure, 3 pence.
Hello, got 3 pence.
And then with the Flock Tracker, which is a similar thing, but not designed solely for bikes, that is going to be, it looks like a little over $80 per tracker. I'm looking for subscription. I'm assuming there is one eventually because they do have a stretch goal. And if they reach that, then it'll fully fund the subscription fees, but they don't say what it's going to be. And that's because NB-IoT is a cellular-based technology. So you're still using the cellular ecosystem. These companies have to go through these cellular carriers, and you know how fun that is. So it'll be a new class of device that's better in a lot of ways. One, because the modules are going to be cheaper. They're going to use less battery. So currently, and they're going to be smaller. So when you currently buy like a cellular powered module for something, they're usually a lot bigger and you have to charge them more often and a number of other things. NB-IoT is really designed for these low power, low data rate, like bleep, here I am kind of use cases. So yay. Okay. When I'm not losing my dog, I am happily playing with my Google Assistant. And now my Google Assistant on my phone is going to be so much better.
Well, this is interesting to me. Google has kind of quietly announced that Google Assistant ambient mode is coming to certain phones. Interestingly, it's not coming to Google's phones, but it's going to be coming to their hardware partners such as Sony, Nokia, Xiaomi, and Lenovo. The rollout begins next week, and you'll need Android 8.1, according to Ron Amadio over at Ars Technica, who got the official info from Google. And after I saw Ron's tweet, I went to watch a very brief video of what ambient mode is. And it's interesting to me because it's a lot like what's available on the smart displays. And if you're going to put it on phones, will that hurt sales of your smart displays?
You know, I would have said yes before I had smart displays. And now I'm like, I think they hold a completely different niche. Right now I have 2 smart displays on my desk, which is a little ridiculous, but that's actually because my family's visiting and my mom did not want a smart display in her room. So I took it out beforehand as for her privacy, because that was important to her. So there's just a little aside for like smart home technology and gas. Anyway, so I've got 2 of these on my desk and I love them. I love using it as a picture frame. I love asking basic questions like currency conversions, or my favorite, what time is it in this part of the world, when I'm trying to set up calendar invites. So
there's definitely value in the smart displays. It's like I use mine to watch a lot of video content. I prefer that when somebody rings my doorbell and the video pops up from my Nest Hello doorbell, it's on a larger screen. It's easier to see than on my phone. But there's some handy bits in here that are also on the smart displays, such as the assistant will automatically surface and show your next appointment.
Mine does that. So when I've got the new Nest Hub Max, when I walk in,
yes,
it's like, good morning. And it gives it.
That's the ambient mode. That's what you have.
Yes, it's nice.
It's interesting because this reminds me of what Google did with the Pixel 3 and the Pixel stand that they came out with, the wireless charging stand.
Oh.
That when you put your phone on there to wirelessly charge, that would automatically pop up my Nest Hello doorbell video when somebody rang the doorbell automatically and do some of these informational bits. So it seems like they've built on that and then brought it to a wider range of phones. But again, I'm still not sure why it's not going to be on Google phones.
This I don't know.
Me neither.
All right, enough on Google. Here's a question for everybody. It is almost Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday shopping season, whatever. I think in the prior years, smart home stuff has been really a big deal for Black Friday. I'm a little less robust on it this year. I think fewer people, given all the privacy kerfuffles, are going to be like, yeah, I'm going to pick up some smart bulbs on, Black Friday. But there are a few deals. There's going to be more. So definitely this is a good time to shop for smart home gear. The one that we noticed for people who want a connected doorbell, it's a very popular gift. We get a lot of questions about which one should I buy? And I'm like, it depends on your ecosystem. You should get a Ring if you're on Amazon and a Hello Nest if you're in a Google world. But some people might be on both, or some people might not want the baggage that comes with Ring and image recognition and the deals they have with police departments. So Wirecutter really likes the Eufy video doorbell, which is about $160. And they found that it's going to be like $102 on Black Friday, which is crazy.
That's crazy low for a video doorbell.
And this is a good video doorbell. This is not like a crummy video doorbell. It's got everything you need. 2K image, person detection, local storage. It does have a separate wireless chime. So just go grab this. Oh, it's $108 from Amazon. My bad.
That's not too bad. And I know we talked about Google a little bit before, and I mentioned Nest Hello, but I'm going to bring it up again because at the Google store, the Nest Hello doorbell, which is normally $229, is $80 off. So $149 gets you the Nest Hello. So if you're in the Google ecosystem, that's a good deal. You said you had the Nest Hub Max in your house?
I do.
That's normally $229. That is $30 off for Black Friday. So $199 for that. And this, I think, is the steal of the century because it's the brand new Nest Mini, which they just announced, a month ago. $20 off, so it's $29.
Wow, that is a good deal for that. You know what I would really like to see go on discount? I don't know if it's going to happen, but the Echo Studio. I really want that, but it's $199 right now, and that feels like a lot.
Yeah.
But if that sucker goes on sale Black Friday, I'm picking one up because I really want one. It sounds amazing. And I feel like those are probably the deals. There's some smart home security camera deals. There's a couple things, but my advice to you is to make your list now of what you really want in your house. Don't go spontaneously buying smart home gear.
No.
Because it's a pain to keep up if you don't really know what you want to do with it. You're not going to love it.
That's what we do. Don't do that.
Don't be us. Don't be us.
Don't be us.
All right. Let's talk about some of that gear we've bought. I made a fun purchase, a $20 $19.99 Philips Hue Smart Button. And you know I love buttons. This one ties to the Hue ecosystem. It's a quarter size. It's like the roundness of a quarter. Is that, I'm like circumference of a quarter.
The diameter?
Diameter. Thank you. I was like, I'm having a lot of, and it's about half the size of a marshmallow, like a big marshmallows that you would roast a s'mores on. Chop that in half. That's what you got. And you click it. It's a short press. You've got a long press and a hold and press are your options, and you can program them very easily. And this thing is so fun. It has a magnet in it. So it's very well designed. You just pop it onto a metal thing, or you can stick it on with double-sided tape. You can either have it as a standalone, just a little button, or you can pop it on a wall plate and pop that wall plate on your wall somewhere. And you can use that to turn your Hue lights on and off. So this is a good, Hue had made a dimmer for rooms to answer the question people have, which is, oh my God, I put smart bulbs in. Then someone turns off the light switch and your lights don't work anymore. The smart light bulbs don't work.
Yeah.
So now you can just, for $20, you could put this and replace your light switch, which is a great deal. They have a dimmer switch that I have always hated because it is ugly. It's clunky looking. This looks much better. It's a better industrial design. You can't really dim, but you could do your presses so the lights kind of go down. Yeah. So I love this thing. I kind of want to get like 20 more, just wherever, put them all over the house. And if you really wanted to mess with me after I put them all over the house, because some of them are programmed.
Mix them up.
Yeah.
Mix them up.
They're programmed to work in different rooms. You could be like, ha 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 ha. Anyway, so if you have a Philips Hue ecosystem and you're like feeling like you might want a button, this is a great button. I love it. And it's only $20. All right.
Not bad.
So how about your device, Kevin?
Yes, and it's a review device. I did not buy this, but the folks at IntelliThings sent me 2 of the room detectors, that very much look like smoke detectors, quite honestly, but they're not. They are basically Bluetooth detectors, and they bring what I've wanted for a long time, personal presence in the smart home. The concept is that if you have the RoomMe app on your phone, you basically have your phone connected to these sensors, and you calibrate the sensors, so that way when you walk into a room, RoomMe says, hey, I know whose Bluetooth that is. That's Kevin. What does Kevin want to do when he walks in this room or when he leaves this room? Well, you can configure whatever you'd like, and that's the premise of it. So you have personalized rooms. So conceptually, in theory, it sounds like exactly what I've wanted. But it feels very much still in a beta stage for me for several reasons. First of all, the setup is easy, but you're very limited in terms of the devices that the roomies can work with. So when I walk into a room, what can I have happen? Well, it works with Philips Hue lights, which you just mentioned. It works with LifeX lights. That's it for lights, sort of. I'll explain in a second. Also works with Ecobee thermostats, which I don't really see much of a need because I have kind of home away set for Ecobee and I have remote sensors. It also works with the Sensibo thermostat if you like. Works with the Bose speakers and Sonos speakers if you have the connected speakers. I do have Sonos. And you can tie it into HomeKit or Wink. So I thought, oh, I can get around the limited light bulbs with Wink. But I saw a lot of latency with Wink. Like I can walk into my office and it can take anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds easily before the lights go on, the Wink lights. It does work a little bit better with the LifeX bulbs that I try, which are not connected to Wink. However, when I set LifeX up with Wi-Fi, it didn't work at all with RoomMe. I had to set them up with HomeKit. So that's kind of a gotcha, unless you're a HomeKit home, in which case you're good. Or maybe not, because the HomeKit app doesn't allow background things to happen. So, and RoomMe says this, they're right up front about it, and it's not their fault. It's HomeKit, the way HomeKit works. So they say if you set up HomeKit and use RoomMe, you either have to have the app open on your phone for the automations to work, or you'll see a notification if the app isn't open. You walk into a dark room, you'll get a notification on your phone, tap the notification, and then the lights go on. So that's not ideal either. It took me a long time to get this set up. There's a lot of calibration involved, and it just didn't work well for me at first. But after many, many attempts to calibrate and set things up, I did get it working. It's not ideal for when you leave the room because the lights won't go off automatically in my case. And RoomMe says, yeah, well, you got to go to the second sensor, and then it knows you've entered a different room, so therefore you've exited the room you were in.
That makes sense, but I can see how that's not
yes
awesome.
And no, because a perfect example is I have one above my head in the office here. I have one downstairs. If I don't go downstairs after I leave this room, I never kind of check in with the downstairs RoomMe. And the light will eventually go off. It won't stay on forever, but still, it's not quite ideal in my opinion. And again, the whole process feels a little bit beta-ish to me. Maybe other people have had better luck with it. I don't know. It's very new. So these are $69 if you buy a single one, although I don't know why you would buy a single one if it needs a second one to know when you left the room. But you can get them in bulk, 2 packs, 3 packs, 4 packs. And then the price of the sensor drops from $69 to $64, $62, $59 if you buy a 4-pack. So I can't say I would recommend it. Not just yet, is my thought.
And that's okay. The hope is this will get better over time. Many smart home products, like I'm still waiting for the Echo Auto to be good. I plug that guy in every 2 months and I'm like, are you working yet? No? Okay.
Right.
So
yeah, let's put it this way. We've cut this part out, but in the middle of this podcast, I opened up the RoomMe app and my Sonos went on and my light went on in my office, my second light, because it just realized I was here. So yeah, that shouldn't be.
So it needs some work.
Yeah.
If you like playing with stuff and you want to mess around with presence detection, maybe this is for you, but you're probably going to annoy your family in the process.
Well, that's the other thing. Each person in your family, may need to have the app installed and have their preferences set up, which is really cool. Like I can own a room, but if I leave it, all the lights shouldn't shut off. It should then go to the next person in the hierarchy of the family. It should go to their preferences. And, that's good. I really think they're onto something here. It just isn't there yet for me.
Got it. Okay. Well, I believe, Kevin, it is time for the IoT Podcast Hotline, which is brought to you by Schlage. Schlage's wide variety of smart locks lets you create the smart home of your dream. Learn more about Schlage's smart home solutions and compatibility with Amazon, Apple, and Google products. Learn all this plus more at schlage.com/IoT. And this month, we are giving away a Schlage lock for our hotline contest. Is that what we call it? I don't know what we call it. But you will be entered to win this hotline contest if you call us with a question, and you do so before the end of this month. So before midnight Eastern on November 30th, you will be entered to win. You should call us at 512-623-7424. And you might hear your question on the show. And let's see, what do we have, Kevin, this week? Oh, this is a good question. We've either had Jeff call us a bunch of times, or we've had multiple people ask us this question. So let's hear it.
Hi, Stacey and Kevin. This is Jeff from New York. My parents are elderly and they don't live near me. And I was wondering if there's a way to tell if they've taken their necessary medication, either something Wi-Fi in the cap or a different solution that you might find. I've been looking online and really find anything, but I look forward to your answer And have a great night. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, this is, like I said, a good question.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a couple ways to answer this. And the answer that you go with is going to depend on probably your parents and how much you want to mess with this, as well as how much money you have to spend on this problem. So, 2 classes of devices. One, the first class is cheaper. These are devices that connect to Bluetooth or Wi-Fi in the home, or Bluetooth to a phone, and they will do reminders to a device, and they will also track if a device has been opened and then send a notification to the phone, which then gets sent to caregivers. These devices are things like the Memo Box, Pillsy, and there are a couple others out there, but those seem to be the most, I guess, reputable now.
Right. And we're talking in terms of price, like the Memo Box, for example, is $40.
Yes, and Pillsy, I think, is $50. So
Yeah.
the pros and cons here, though, one, there's going to have to be a continuous device connection, and your parents or whomever you're tracking is going to have to maintain that if you are not there to maintain it, which can be difficult.
Right. So it may even make sense to have an old phone there that they don't have to manage. That's just the gateway for you to get the notifications from one of these little pillboxes.
And the second thing about these is, especially with the Bluetooth ones, if it is not in range of a phone, because that's where the intelligence live, it will not give a reminder. You don't actually talk about needing a reminder, Jeff, so maybe that's not an issue for you. You just want to know when it's taken, and this will work for that as long as it's near the phone. So that's the cheaper end of the spectrum. There is a larger and several devices at the more expensive end, and this can range from a monthly fee all the way up to like a $700 device plus a monthly fee. These are devices like Priya, which is made by Black & Decker. That's Pria. It's a little robot that you fill with their medications. It uses facial recognition to like spit out pills for them. This is probably good for someone with dementia. And it's also going to send you a notice. The pills do have to be filled each month, so someone's going to have to do that side of it. This is Wi-Fi based, so it's not dependent on the phone. There is a subscription fee. The first 6 months of the Priya are free, but then it's $9.99 a month. So this is good, especially if you want the reminders plus the notifications, plus it holds a whole month's worth of medicine as opposed to, just one bottle or 1 week's worth of medicine. And this locks, so if someone has, other people running around the house that might want to try to take their medicines, they can't because of the facial recognition or a PIN code. The other options that seem to do well in this category are, there's a company called MedMinder, and they make something called the Maya. It's a smart automated pill dispenser that has 28 days, so 4 weeks of pills. It is $40 per month, and it gives you real-time alerts and reminders, and it has its own cell connection. The other interesting thing about this is you can actually have a pharmacy, and if they use the MedMinder service, basically every 4 weeks, you just go to the pharmacy, you pick up the tray slot, and it just pops right in there, which is really interesting. But again, this is $40 a month, which is a lot. The pros are it's got a cellular connection, so it just is going to work. You just give it to your parents and turn it on, and it's good. So those are some of the options. There's a bunch of other devices out there, but they all kind of fall into that category. So you really need to figure out what you're willing to do, what your parents are able to do, and what you're willing to spend.
Yeah, and there's no in between here. We go from rather inexpensive to rather very expensive options.
Rather quickly.
Yes.
Another option, but this is not ideal, they'd have to have a lot of space, is you could use you could use a motion sensor, an open-close sensor, and you just put their medicines in a drawer, and you would notice when the drawer is opened. But that's not actually a guarantee that they've taken the medicine.
No.
So I don't love that if you're worried about, people forgetting and that sort of thing. So that is what we have for you, Jeff. Hopefully that helps. All right. That is a lot for this segment of the show. Please stay tuned for our guest, Sarah Cooper, who is GM of Outcome-Driven Engineering at AWS. She's going to be talking about all of the work they're doing to beef up their cloud for industrial and enterprise IoT. And I hope you had a wonderful Turkey Day. Hey everyone, we are taking a quick break from the Internet of Things podcast for a message from our sponsor. This week's sponsor is Legrand, a maker of smart lighting, outlets, and receptacles. And we have Manny Lynn Harris here to talk to us. All right, today I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about the user experience and what Legrand is doing to make smart lighting accessible to everyone.
So as I mentioned previously, Legrand has been innovating brilliant solutions for the home for well over 100 years. We create functional and easy-to-use products that look good too. We always believe that our products should look better. We want to add value, not just turning on and controlling lights, but by raising the bar aesthetically in your home. Because in our minds, it's clear that the products we make are often part of a home for 20 plus years. So beyond all of the smarts, Legrand has 2 designer switches and outlet collections that bring beauty to your home through your switches and outlets, smart or not. The Adorn and Radiant collections offer design-first lighting and power controls for the residential and commercial spaces.
So, let's talk a little bit more about your design.
First off, why do quote-unquote smart parts of the solutions need to look any different in your home? It's quite clear that not every light and outlet will be smart. So why do they need to stand out like a sore thumb and have this glowing blue light or look physically different? The technology is for us to have better, safer, more efficient user experiences in our home. At Legrand, we just want them to look better and match all of the other switches in our home, sometimes even adding some visual flair to match our unique styles and color choices that we want. Our Radiant collection is not only better devices, but the collection offers a simple, clean look without having to look at the screws that are holding the plates on the wall. Our Adorn collection is gorgeous. It elevates beauty and customization within your home through style and colors to become part of your home's individual look, while reminding you and everyone that you let in your home know that you care about what it looks like and the experience through interacting with those devices and outlets. Therefore, you can have a look that you want and the smart devices too, without having a neon sign telling everyone where you've added those intelligent devices. The Legrand Smart Light app, which end users will use to install and control the product, is also designed with these principles in mind, looking good while still being easy and intuitive to use.
I appreciate not having a bunch of glowing lights on the wall. So tell me a little bit more about how the installation works.
Simplicity is the word that best describes our approach. We feel very similarly here as we do with our design and style philosophy. Because it is smart and intelligent doesn't mean it needs to be difficult to use or install. To install the device is identical to putting any other switch or outlet in your home. And we've designed it to be easy as connecting a smartphone to Wi-Fi and snapping a photo. That's it.
Nice. And where can our listeners go to find out more about Legrand's smart lighting?
To learn more about Legrand's designer switches and outlets, the functionality of the products, and our smart lighting controls, visit legrand.us/collections.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Internet of Things podcast. This is your host, Stacey Higginbotham, and today's guest is Sarah Cooper, who is GM of Outcome-Driven Engineering for AWS. Hello, Sarah. How are you today?
Hi, Stacey. I'm great.
I am super excited to be here. I feel like we've known each other for a long time. You were doing the IoT before it was even cool.
Back when it was M to M?
Back in the day. So we're here today to talk about AWS's journey into trying to become this cloud and services for industrial IoT, which historically has been the domain of Microsoft and Microsoft Azure. So let's talk about how you guys are prepping for building, I don't want to say an industrial and enterprise quality cloud for IoT.
Sure. So one of the key pieces of the industrial IoT is not just the cloud, but it's also the edge. We've got a very strong offering, and we've been investing more and more in our edge capabilities across the AWS spectrum, not just IoT. So in the IoT space, we've got IoT Greengrass, which is an edge gateway device. We've also got SiteWise, which is specific for the industrial internet. That really unblocks a lot of our customers from just getting data access and driving a lot of the value from that key industrial data. Then, of course, we've got Snowball Edge, so being able to send ruggedized devices with core AWS capabilities. So there's all of these components that are available at the edge, and now we're starting to put those together along with cloud for industrial customers to be able to really focus on the problems they're trying to solve.
I would say one of the big things that we've seen this last year is this idea that we've moved from doing pilot projects, one-off projects where we digitize something, we put IoT in somewhere. And now we're moving to this idea where you're really doing an all-in digital transformation. And I would love to figure out how you guys are playing with that, because you've got a new job now. You're actually the head of outcome-driven engineering, which feels kind of fluffy, but there's a real there that ties back to this idea of digital transformation. So what are you doing?
It does. So when you're working on individual point solutions, you can bring together the technology and the people and the processes that require to solve a specific problem fairly straightforwardly. Still, you've got to deal with networking and security capabilities. You've got to deal with on-device capabilities and pulling together all of the benefit of compute and storage in the cloud. So it's a complex technology journey, but it's pretty straightforward to get your mind around what are we trying to do. When you start talking about doing that repeatedly, you've built individual stacks that are replicating some of the data silos that you're trying to avoid, right? So with digital transformation, we're getting a lot more customers saying, hey, I want to be able to solve these sets of problems while also enabling and empowering my workforce to be able to very quickly and with less risk be able to deliver the next set of solutions much faster. And hence we start talking about abstracted platforms where we're connecting the various devices, of which there's an incredible number in an industrial environment, with very interesting and unique relationships between those pieces of equipment and the data coming off those pieces of equipment. Talking about abstracting that complexity away from those who are charged with developing a dashboard that lets you see what parameters need to be optimized for a particular process, or that help to automate or create an autonomous solution where you can actually detect changes in, say, beer fermentation process in process to be able to squelch or increase the ingredients of the process in situ. All of those solutions and those platforms that sit underneath them need to be able to separate out the concerns so that the domain experts can handle the pieces that they know.
Right. So one of the big challenges has always been, I don't want to be a cloud engineer. I want to be the head of my business unit. And I want to be able to say, oh, I want to understand this particular process in depth, but I don't actually want to have to go pull in. I don't want to have to design API calls because that is not what I do. Let's talk about architecture, because I think a lot of these companies associate, even I'm like AWS, awesome cloud. And with Greengrass, with some of the services that are out there, and I would actually put things like AWS Lambda in there. There's an entirely new architecture that we need to think about for building the IoT. And I'd love for your take on, we talked about a couple things, but I'd really like to get the story on how to tie all of this together. That's a hard question.
It's a very hard question, and it's one that our customers have been struggling with for the last 10 years. One of the biggest challenges of working for Amazon is the breadth and depth of our services. We have an incredible variety and power within those services. Some of it is also available as a end-to-end solution, whether it's running, again, at the edge or whether it's running in the cloud. It connects the two. Greengrass is a great example of that. We have services that run at the most basic device layer. So we'll work from the device back towards the cloud. So we've got Amazon FreeRTOS, which runs on microcontrollers. Very small devices, small footprints. We've got Greengrass, which runs on larger gateway devices. We have specific capabilities that sit above Greengrass, SiteWise being one of them. Also, we have capabilities like RoboMaker. So RoboMaker runs at the edge. ROS, RobotOS. There's a lot of capabilities within that around fleet management and metrics and visibility across your robotic environments. Then we move to more of the infrastructure, but still at the edge. So we've got Snowball family and the Snow family, compute, storage optimized capabilities with a number of AWS services that can run on those piece of equipment offline.
Because everybody in the industrial internet, boy, they love their on-premise gear.
They do, and for good reasons. We do talk about kind of the 3 laws for where to run things. Lots of economics, the cost of shipping data to the cloud, but also the cost of vertical scaling at the edge. So there's always a kind of a trade-off. Where do you want to run something economically? We talk about the speed of light, so the law of physics. If you're going to be moving data back and forth between the cloud and the edge, there's a latency associated with that. So you've got to be able to take that into account if you need a real-time decision. You want to run that at the edge. If you need a decision, if you have a little more length of time, you can run that in the cloud and take advantage of some of those cloud economics. And then we talk about the law of the land, governance. So you can run certain workloads only locally because they cannot leave the facility where the data is generated. And others, you have regulations around, say, compliance, HIPAA compliance, which actually may be easier to do in the cloud where you've got HIPAA compliant services that you can build on, which reduces the amount of audit capabilities that you've got to do across your entire infrastructure. So again, each one of these three laws has both a side for when to run things locally and when it might behoove you to run them in the cloud. Back to our services, we're about to move into the cloud. The capabilities around storage, analytics, machine learning, although machine learning these days also runs at the edge. We have ML inference in Greengrass. We have Amazon SageMaker Neo that can run at the edge. These capabilities provide that, again, kind of seamless architecture of developing once and running in multiple locations. As you know, Greengrass containers are coming out again, being able to leverage technology that's available in both locations so that you can write it once and run it wherever you need to. Within the cloud, we then get into 165 services across the AWS environment that run from compute infrastructure all the way up to much higher level services.
In mentioning containers, and yes, you guys just announced that Greengrass will be able to handle containers, which is exciting. Can you talk about the importance of containers and serverless computing? Because those are big when we talk about IoT, and I'd love for you to explain why.
Really for two different reasons. Serverless computing, in particular, the paradigm of event-driven architecture, makes a lot of sense in an IoT world where you've got devices and systems that are all correlating information from many different backgrounds and sources. Industrial is a great use case for this because you've got manufacturing execution systems that are identifying what should be running at a given point. You've got devices connected into very other systems that have alerts and alarms or notifications that might be coming off of them. So an event-driven architecture allows you to optimize for pulling in all of that data, all of those events, and handling them in a very efficient way so that you can route them to the applications that might need them, to individuals. But it's a highly scalable, very efficient system for these dynamic environments that IoT tend to sit in. Containers, on the other hand, are extremely valuable when you've got an environment and you're migrating really from one paradigm to another, which happens continuously these days. Change is a constant. I think that's maybe the biggest characteristic of Industry 4.0 is that change has gone from being something that was consistent to now something that is constant. Containers allow you to write code once and then move where you run those workloads and to be able to manage them with tools like Kubernetes in a way that allows an upper management structure against this very complex potential background. You don't have to care as much about what's happening in any individual instance. You can run it at an aggregated layer.
Okay, so serverless is exciting because event-driven, you don't need like a dedicated huge compute instance to handle that. You can just have this like itty-bitty whoop flash compute. I need it now. So you do that. And then containers are important because you've got a lot of stuff running across many different places and you just want to be able to spin up what you need for that application. You do it in the container, and then it just kind of goes away when it's not necessary. And you can run that on a light switch. You can run it on a gateway. You can run it wherever it needs to be. Someone develops it for a container, and it runs everywhere whenever needed.
That's correct. There's one more advantage to containers. There's an incredible legacy of, particularly in the analytics space in IoT. And we see customers with MATLAB applications that are running core pieces of the decisions around shift management or around workload provisioning across this industrial environment. MATLAB is not something that's particularly easy to move around on its own to different environments. It can be done, but it means a lot of custom adapters because it wasn't built for a lot of these environments. If you wrap it in a container, now all of a sudden you can integrate it with tools like IoT analytics, where you've got all of your data processing and much of your own analytics capabilities being done in the cloud, but now you can run your MATLAB as a containerized piece on that data on a frequency, and it's fully automated for. So the ability to take what is legacy and wrap it and still use it, and then be able to compare that to maybe the 20 years that you've been using that application. But now those results, which are in a modern architecture, can be compared with results on the same algorithm that was running 10, 15 years ago.
Okay, let's talk about customization. For example, you're working with VW on their digital transformation, and these feel very custom. So I'm curious what you're learning in your role that leads to new AWS services. So where are the holes? What do we need? What are you like, I can't believe we haven't built this. It's so clearly necessary.
Absolutely. So Volkswagen's digital production platform is an opportunity for Amazon to partner with Volkswagen on transforming across 122 plants, 12 brands, 1,500 of their top suppliers, which represent another 30,000 sites. It's an incredibly large project. True to the title in our team of outcome-driven engineering, we are partnering on the outcome, on driving an efficiency and productivity of 30% increase by 2025. That's a massive goal that Volkswagen took on, really while they look at how do we produce combustion vehicles, electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles. These are innovation across many, many different fronts. And it requires a different, more flexible environment in the production world to be able to do that efficiently and at the speed across that many vectors of innovation. Volkswagen and AWS have partnered in a way where we have our team, which is a service team, working with Amazon Professional Services to come together as one Amazon, supporting Volkswagen's transformation. That co-development means we're working very closely with Volkswagen's own developers on building out the core capabilities. So if we look at the amount of customization that it takes across a components plant versus an assembly plant versus a Porsche, a Lamborghini, a Bentley, an Audi, one of my favorites, MAN, which makes these very large buses and semi-trucks. It's a very different manufacturing process for each plant. The customization, of course, we want to be able to deliver exactly the solution that's needed, integrating the heterogeneity of those devices and the heterogeneity of what's delivered as an end product. But we've got to do it in a way that transposes across all of these plants and provides one view into the data. So it's really how do we drive that transparency across this environment so that, again, as we talked a little bit about before, we can empower many more people at Volkswagen to become innovators in the future because they're riding on top of this platform. We partner with ProServe in particular because ProServe is going to be driven to write many of the truly custom pieces to support what is unique about just the Volkswagen environment. And there absolutely are some of those. But if you think of the challenge of connecting to thousands of different vendors, equipment, and solutions, that's common across many different environments. Many different industrial customers have the same challenge. So the way that we're working with them is to identify, as we pull together the architecture, as we integrate the AWS services on the edge and in the cloud, we're constantly looking at what are the features that we need in those services. We're bringing that back to our service teams and working very closely to deliver new features within our existing services. At the same time, we're looking at where do we see white space? Where are we having to develop maybe a shop floor connection piece or a new way of deploying machine learning to be able to trigger off of events. We see multiple opportunities to deliver new services that unblock other customers as well. So we've got these horizontal capabilities, but those are things that you don't learn without rolling up your sleeves and diving in. Amazon has very large physical operations ourselves in our own fulfillment centers, manufacturing environments, but being able to see the combinations of what it takes to build a vehicle versus what it takes to deliver millions of packages a day. We really get a chance to see what are horizontal across those and what's unique.
So I'm guessing you're not going to tell me any of your future products based on this learning, but I'm going to give you a chance. Would you tell me some of your future products or things that we should expect from y'all coming up?
No.
All right then. Sarah, thanks for coming on the show this week.
Thank you, Stacy. It's great to catch up.
That's it for this week. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, if you'd like more IoT news, sign up for my newsletter at stacyoniot.com. We'll see you next week.